Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again for another Appalachian Trail community news, thru hiker update, and trail information. This week's video is going to be in memory of Grandmaster. We'll talk about Grandmaster in a minute, but he is a hiker that was thru hiking this year and passed away since our last update. So we'll talk about that a little more in just a minute. It's been an extra week since I did my last update because I got to go out there and spend a little bit of time on the trail. Saw a ton of thru hikers out there. Must have been in a little micro bubble. I was hiking from into Pearisburg from somewhere around Laurel Creek, and so I must have been around 40 or 50, maybe more thru hikers there. So I met a lot of you out there. It was great meeting you, listening to your stories and everything. And if I mentioned names, I would leave somebody out. So thanks a lot for everybody just sharing with me and just allowing me to be part of the community out there. It was really a good time, and everybody had a great time, and everybody looked like they were having a good time while I was out there. So appreciate that and enjoyed it very much. So let's get on with what's going on currently with the trail out there. So Georgia, she has a new hiking partner, and her old hiking partner Sticky Buns had to get off there at Pearisburg. But Georgia has picked up a new hiking partner, and his trail name is Zpacks, aka Georgia's son. So that is awesome to see Georgia bringing up the next generation of hikers, the next generation thru hikers. So it's good to see them together. Boogie On completed her 5th state and crossed the 500-mile mark, and that is awesome. Congratulations to her. She is really allergic to gypsy moths, caterpillars, and she ran into those down there. And gypsy moths can really cause a bad sting on you, and she was covered in welts. She said at one time she thought it was like raining gypsy moth caterpillars from the trees. So according to the USDA, gypsy moth caterpillars can cause both skin rashes and respiratory infections in people who come across them. So rashes are typically contracted through direct contact with the tiny hairs that they have on their bodies, and it is in most states, if not all states, on the AT. So while I was hiking through that section, I didn't really see a lot, although there were several hanging from the trees that were right in the middle of the trail. Like they were hanging there on purpose, waiting to catch a thru hiker coming through there. So you really got to look for them. They're masked in the trees, and all of a sudden it would be coming right at me, and I'd have to dodge it. So in any case, watch out for those gypsy moth caterpillars out there. Outback, who is actually hiking the ECT, is in southern Vermont after taking a few days off due to some weird illness he had. Gumby's back on the trail at Harper's Ferry after contracting Guillain-Barré's disease. So that is a syndrome that he got after he received the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine. And it's something like 1 in a million chance that you would get something like that. Of course, if you're the person that gets it, you're 100% chance of getting it. But he does not recommend people not get the vaccine because of it. That's just something that just bad luck for him, he said. Last July, his doctors told him that he would probably never walk again, but he was determined to get better, worked as hard as he could, and he says he's about 90% now, and so he is back out on the trail. Oh, and by the way, he is just had his 63rd birthday. So happy birthday, happy getting back on the trail, happy getting over Guillain-Barré's. I have known people that have had that before, and they have been able to get over it, and leave relatively normal lives. So that's awesome, Gummy, that you could just suck it up and drive on. So appreciate that. Horseshoe and Super Sport, they are past Scare and Flow Gap. Parker has reached the 900-mile marker. Now, Parker is not somebody that we've been tracking, but Fierce Flamingo, who I hiked on the Foothills Trail with and made a lot of friends on that hike. She's a friend of his, a trail buddy of his, and so she just wanted to let everybody know that he's doing well. He's out there on his 900 mile, and she's out doing some lashes this year. Lucky Moon is around Harper's Ferry, and just to show you how the trail is a small community and how you have these interactions with people on the trail that you had a long time ago down south. Lucky Moon has been doing some trail angelaring, if that's a word, as she has been hiking on the Appalachian Trail, and she fed some folks down south, and so she was up here at the Glen Morey shelter where she was enjoying her ice cream. She had somebody's giving away free ice cream out there, and who walks into it, but enjoying his free ice cream. But come along, my hiking buddy and somebody she had fed down south down there. So they have both well north of Buena Vista now. And they are probably already in the shanties. But I just thought that was really neat just to see you run into people that you met down south. It's happened to me before, even though I'm a section hiker. So very, very cool. And Come Along did say that he is north of Glasgow now. Bricks is in Vermont. He's making good time. Says he has not run into any bad mud yet, and everything so far is easily crossed that he's had to cross over there. So, but it is bug season there in Vermont. I have heard of people that have indicated that that mosquitoes out pretty bad. Have not heard black flies yet, although Trail Boss is up in Maine right now. She's on vacation with sister crew and her mom. They took her mom up to Maine, and so it's they were having an awesome trip up there. She stopped by the ATC and asked if they had any Ramdino merch. Hadn't heard back yet to see what type of what they said to her, but I don't have any merch to begin with. But I just wondered if the folks up north know of how my interactions with the ATC here typically on the channel. But anyway, she's up there. They did say that they are having black flies up there in Maine. So you folks that are coming into Maine are already up there. Just keep that in mind. Spotter is north of Duncannon. Mishap and Amethyst, they are the first Sobo folks that we've been tracking, and they are getting ready to start. Matter of fact, they are starting today. Alias is entering New York for good tomorrow. He had 4.1 more miles in New Jersey, and he still didn't have any bears, but he is in New York now. Said he saw a porcupine and 2 snapping turtles. Lolly and Pops, they are back on the trail at Hot Springs after taking some family time off. Zizzy's back on the trail after having some gut issues that got addressed, and she's back on there at Duncannon. Syrup and Airbag, they have reached the quarter-way sign, so congratulations to them. They said since Grayson Highlands, lots of hikers are getting sick, possibly with the norovirus. They said water sources have been scarce and the privies have been getting close to being full. Holy Roller is in Waynesboro with Al and Red Panda, who they have all been hiking together since day one. And she is back on trail after recovering from a week of norovirus. Cool Breeze is a flip-flopper and made it out of Port Clinton yesterday. Said he's meeting more and more flip-floppers and feel like they are in sort of a flip bubble where they're at now. Their plan is to get to Delaware Water Gap sometime this coming week. Matthew Jones is on his way to Pearisburg with his friend Bo, who is a bloodhound. And I want to mention while we're talking about dogs, I got a dog there, is that everyone be very careful with your dogs right now. I know you're up north and it's a little cooler than it is down south. We're going to have triple-digit temperatures this coming week here in North Carolina. But watch those dogs, and there's even a goat or two out there on the trail. Watch them goats. Let's make sure that everybody, and each other, make sure that everybody is staying dehydrated out there. Santiago, he has made it 1,200 miles. Blue is officially done with the Shenandoahs and will hit the 1,000-mile mark. Matter of fact, she's already hit that. And she took a 0 in Luray and visited the caverns there. Says she highly recommends going and checking out the caverns on a 0 day. Disco, Keto, and Willow, they have finished the roller coaster. Congratulations to them. They are well past the 1,000-mile mark, and they are in Harper's Ferry. One of the neat things was that I hiked with Disco on the foothills, met her, and became friends there, as well as with 511, another thru hiker. And we'll speak about 511 in just a minute, but he met Jill there at Harper's Ferry so they could get a little selfie taken together. So I thought that was pretty neat. He was north of there, taking a little bit of time off, but came back to Harper's Ferry just to snap a picture and spend some time with that camaraderie that we all made together on the Foothills Trail. So that's pretty cool. Rock and Roll is coming into the Triple Crown. Papa Bear has made it to Harper's Ferry on his Bammer to Baxter hike. Gaia has made it to New York, said she enjoyed the new Top Gun movie Maverick there at the Warwick Drive that's in New Jersey, just over the border. So I would highly recommend anybody that is coming into New York there. I think it's like 0.2 of a mile off the trail, but They let you camp for free in the back, and they'll give you a radio so you can watch movies on their drive-in screens. I think they have like 3 different screens there, so that's pretty cool. Little Chap's made it to Harper's Ferry. Dandelion has made it to Harper's Ferry. Straps, Chatterbox Tea, and Boston, they are halfway done with Massachusetts. Roadrunner, Fox, Cheeseball, and Groceries, they have made it to Harper's Ferry. Lazarus made it to New York, and he mentioned that he thought that the mental game has begun and is starting to set in for a lot of folks, particularly those in his area. So, you know, you get to Pennsylvania and you start thinking, wow, I'm only halfway done with this trip and I've already been out here for several months. So, you know, you got a long way to go. Plus Pennsylvania, also known as Roxylvania, just kind of beats your feet up, beats your legs up. A lot of people there. You start running into bugs and black flies, they set in. By now the heat is set in, so it's really hot. Your body is depleted of its minerals and the resources just from eating all that hiker junk food that you eat all the way up. And then just, you know, it's just not sustaining your body, so it's eating itself basically. And so now by the time you get here, it's pretty much depleted. That's causing mental breakdown, that's causing fatigue. That can even lead to additional injuries or old flare-ups of other injuries. Life has become, you know, get up in the morning, cook breakfast, break camp, hike, lunch, get to camp, set up camp, supper, rinse, lather, repeat. So the monotony now of hiking the long distance has set in. You've just come so far, but you've got so far to go. You stop thinking about how far you've come and how far you got to go. And so now is really when the gut check happens and when you just have to reach down into yourself there and pull out whatever you can mentally to keep on moving forward. So to all you folks that find yourself in that situation, you're not the only person out there that's like that. If you're in a tramily, support each other, talk each other up. If you're not in a tramily, maybe try to find one. I know that can be difficult for, you know, by now tramilies can be a little on the cliquish side, but in any case, it's good to be around other thru hikers and the hiker community in general. So talk each other up, look out for each other. Look at each other physically to make sure each other physically is in a good shape. And that's what happened to Sunshine. So Sunshine is off trail. Sunshine was another person who I got to be friends with. We still keep in touch. And she hiked with us, all of this group that I've been talking about on the Foothills Trail this past December. And these thru hikers that were doing that, they were doing that, you know, just as a kind of a precursor to getting on the AT, checking out gear and everything, but just to be part of the hiker community. And so we got out there, had a blast. And then so Sunshine has been hiking with her dog Mako. She had to release the dog Mako back to her husband when she got into Pennsylvania because she just felt the rocks were going to be too much. Plus it is a standard poodle, so its hair's a little long. And its fur's a little long, and so and it's black, so she felt like the heat was going to be too much. But Sunshine found her body completely depleted, and so her eyes started going wonky, and mentally she kind of had a fog. And she was hiking, part of her tramline was an EMT, and just looked at her and said, hey, your eyes don't look so good. And they were going to encourage her to get off trail or take a break. And so she called her husband to drive up from Tennessee, picked her up, and just decided that she is going to call her hike. And that's a smart thing to do. She's very small, or very thin, so she didn't have a lot of mass to lose to begin with. You know, and when you're going through burning up 4,000 or 5,000 calories, it's really hard to keep that protein in you up there, particularly if you already start out small and you don't have a lot of reserves to pull from. So she made it all the way up to Duncannon, so that is nothing to sneeze at. So dang proud of her for doing that. And I know she's proud of herself and all of her tramily, not only those that she was hiking with there, but her tramily from the foothills. We're all tramily together from the Foothills Trail, and so we're proud of you, Sunshine, and Mako too. And so look forward to hiking with you again sometime in the near future. Lucky Moon also had to go home because of the whelps and stuff that she had. I'm sorry, Boogie On had to go home because of the whelps and stuff and the allergies that she had from all the caterpillars and everything. So She really got hit pretty hard, and I think she's a little more susceptible to those stings than other folks are. So she had to go home. Not sure if she'll be coming back or not. And then Lucky Moon had to go home because she had a family matter that she had to attend to. Not sure if she's going to be able to be back or not. So if you are out there on the trail and you're still hiking, be sure and send me your updates on Thursday or Friday. Be glad to include you in my weekly updates. And if you get off trail, let us know whether we've been updating you or not. So there are other thru hikers that listen to this channel. We all care about you. And if you get off, and particularly if you have social media and you don't post for a while, people worry about you. So let us know. I'll be glad to let people know. And then you hikers that are out there, continue to send those in. Let me know the trail conditions, water conditions, bear conditions, bug conditions, all those things, so that I can let folks behind you, and mud conditions, because that season's probably coming up here sooner rather than later in Vermont, so I can let folks behind you know what's going on, and folks that are in front of you that are SOBO coming through. So some trail news out there. Whispers, our northern correspondent, said he was going up to Zealand Hut and going to be chatting with the crew up there about work for stay, but he says it is definitely happening. And they are saying that the limit is 2 persons per night, and there is a 4-person limit for works for stay at the Lake of the Clouds, and probably that may be relaxed throughout the season. Depends on how crowded they are, how much they need you to work. Just like during COVID, when they said no work for stay, they started relaxing that somewhat during the end of the COVID, end of last year in particular anyway, when they were open. So the AMC, though, which is the Appalachian Mountain Club, and who does those huts up there in the Whites, they are up for their 30-year special use permit. So they're on national or federal land up there running those shelters. And so this year they're kind of going to be a little more stricter until that survey is done. So the leadership's asking for strict adherence to the rules, but we'll see later in the season. Hopefully they will loosen that work for stay requirements there. And then Christian Morgan is attempting the fastest known time. Don't have an update as of today, Sunday, for him. He was north of 81 Junction yesterday, which is there in Tennessee, so that's Highway 81. And probably by now he would be well past where 77 comes into it over there in the east and into Pearisburg. He was having some quad issues, and he was just a little bit behind. He was ahead until he started having the quad issues and got behind. So hopefully he can get those worked out, and then he can go ahead and catch up on that time. I have figured out how these fastest on time hikers do it, how they're able to hike so fast. Their feet don't touch the ground. Here's a picture of Christian's feet, and his feet ain't touching the ground as he goes through Damascus. So I didn't know that's the secret. So maybe I'll go out and try it. Sev, who has been a past thru hiker, he's been doing some trail maintenance with the Eastman Club. So thru hiker who's giving back to the trail, he's been doing that up around McQueen's Gap, which is mile 460. Said he's been seeing 20 plus thru hikers coming through there a day, and said he spoke to one of the hikers who said there was still a fairly large bubble that was just coming out of the Smokies and coming into Hot Springs there. So and then a warning, there are some northern goshawks that are a half-mile south of the Pierce Pond shelter, which is Nobo Mile 2039 in Maine. So a lot of people hadn't come through there. It is their nesting season. They will attack you like a raptor from Jurassic Park. And so this fella did not fare too well there. Had to have some stitches apparently, and he is not the only one that I've heard of having to do that. So when you come through there, I think there are some signs that warn of that area, but just be very careful and hike fast when you come through that area. Might want to consider putting on your head net or some other type of, maybe if you got a toe bog, put that on, so they'll go for that first before they go for your face. Great Smoky Mountains National Park, we had another closure of the shelters due to a bear closure, and that was the Cosby Knob shelter. So right now, Cosby Knob and Russell Field are closed. Molly's Ridge has a bear warning. Look for Davenport to close. It always winds up closing for the end of the year, so look for that to close. And then they've also had reports of bear activity at the Helvey's Mill Shelter, which is Nobo Mile 592. That is up in Virginia there. right where the Appalachian Trail crosses over I-77. Bears have been in the area and have shown no fear to humans and have entered the shelters. I just came through that area this past weekend, so I didn't have any kind of issues, but I don't go to the shelters either unless I just have to, unless it's raining. Had a great week, so it was not raining. And then our hearts go out to the family and the tramley and the friends of Grandmaster. Matrix name was Paul Clausen. He was a 23-year-old hiker from the Netherlands, and he fell 50 feet up at the McAfee Knob area. Not at McAfee Knob, but at one of the overlooks in that area. And he passed away shortly after his fall. There was a lot of media misinformation going out there, but I found a post from one of his tramley who, with permission of his family, wanted to set the record straight and let everybody know that he was not goofing off, wasn't posing for a picture. He was just simply sitting at the edge of a cliff, one of the cliffs past McAfee, with his feet actually on a lower rock and wasn't right on the edge. And he just spontaneously slumped forward and fell. As far as they knew, he was totally well. He was just chilling, eating breakfast. So we think he passed out, but we don't know why, and now they will never know for sure. So she goes on to say that he was our friend. He was the most lively, empathetic, personable, fun, and goofy guy you could ever meet. If you met him on the trail, I'm sure you will remember him. He will be incredibly missed. Thank you all for keeping his family in your thoughts. So this update this week is dedicated to Grandmaster. It is always such a tragedy when we lose anybody on the trail, but particularly one of our own, one of the Thru hikers out there. And so, folks, not that he did anything wrong, but just be careful out there and look out for each other. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to stay hydrated, stay nutrition, and to take care of each other. And I'm sure that his family was doing that. This is just one of those freak things. So, as I mentioned before, I just got through hiking there from Laurel Creek into Pearisburg. Went over great. Be putting out a video on that. Just had a blast doing out there. I'd like to thank Fresh Ground. He was out there on the trail. Got some feeding from him, and he fed an enormous amount of hikers, probably more than he bargained for when he came out there. So thanks a lot, Fresh Ground, for being out there and being part of that. I also got a hike coming up in July, so you can expect another skip in my update, and that'll be sometime around mid-July, around the 15th. I'll be doing the northern section up there, finishing up Vermont. So looking forward to that. Let me know how the bugs and the mud and the rocks and the roots are up there. Looking forward to getting up there and finishing Vermont. All right, folks, thanks for everything you do. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.